Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast, a virtual firehouse kitchen table with Matt, Adam, Brian, Doug, and Freddie, where they discuss everything that matters in today's fire service. Now let's get to the show.
So because of that raccoon and that donkey, I'm not allowed to go back in there anymore.
Ever. Can't go back.
That's it.
Hey,
it's the weirdest thing, man. I hate it.
Have you
So
posted why you got fired from the Suicide Hotline on Patreon yet?
I don't think he has. I'll put it on Patreon.
All right, stay tuned.
I will.
Stay tuned, folks. Get on Patreon, $2 a month. All right, welcome back to the Cool Fireman. Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast.
Okay, here we are. We're just going.
But that's all, folks. Welcome back.
Today, Junior.
Today, Junior. Throwback to Nick's episode when I did that to him. That was pretty funny.
Oh my god, that was so funny, dude. That was like episode 4.
Yeah, that was early. That was early, dude. That was great.
I say it.
The Carolina was coming out at him. He couldn't get his words out.
Oh damn. Yeah, that's what I feel like just now.
Hey, has anybody seen a cheetah stretch before?
One more little nugget about Safer. If we do not go back to that same restaurant, I'm going to be upset.
Oh, we are 100%.
Aunties?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, we are so going back there. All right, hey, main topic.
Anyways, Matt, you said something?
Yes, main topic for today. We're doing true or false. We're going to go old school versus new school. I've got a whole bunch of comments, statements, and then we're going to say true or false, give a brief explanation, and we would love for everybody else to play along as well in the comments, whether this is on social media or it's on Spotify or YouTube. That'd be great. That'll be the main topic. But first, we're going to do a little what?
This is the last podcast before we go to FDIC.
Is it?
Yep.
That's true. That's true. First, let's do some housekeeping.
Folks, it's time for housekeeping.
All right, now, so yes, last podcast until FDIC.
Tuesday,
is that true?
Tuesday week, so 2 weeks, yeah.
All right, that's exciting. And
this one will come out Monday, and we go to. Yeah, I go that Tuesday.
Yeah. When I'm like thinking about things to talk about at the very beginning of our podcast, I have to think like a week ahead. It's the weirdest thing. Like we could see into the future because Doug, by the time that this drops, we are going to have a 2026 Masters champion.
That's true.
That's super weird to think about.
And I'm also wrong. I'm a week ahead. This one comes out the 13th.
Sure does.
Second to the podcast. 2 podcasts before we go to FDIC. I'm excited to go to FDIC, man. I can't wait.
Oh, damn. Okay.
I'm so excited. We're going to be over by fire department coffee. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited. And it's Masters week. Come on. I got a Masters.
Yeah. So we are recording
Masters flag over there. Came from the golf course.
Very good. We are recording on the day after Easter. We hope that you all had a great Easter. This is going to obviously post the week after, but we hope that you had a good Easter.
I'm really
you got Matt.
Myself. I just want you to know that.
What?
I'm really containing myself right now. I just want y'all to know that.
What are you containing yourself for?
Because I have things to say, but I want
because you missed a couple of episodes.
I have so much.
But I want you to know that when you missed, I'm pretty sure both times we said risk, frequency, probability, and cost.
At least 9 times. They were not in the correct order, and I yelled at the radio at least 3 times.
There is no.
I was proud. No. Papa was proud.
Okay, good. Papa was proud. Holy shit. So, of course, you got Matt, Adam, Brian, and Doug today. I already gave you the main. So Patreon is up, of course. We're rolling. We had what do we got for Patreon, Doug?
Got a new member. Got a new free member, Preston Warren. Welcome to the crew, my guy. For only $2, you get a little more, including the Turnout Drill, and maybe you'll win some free shit.
Yeah. Yep.
I did not get time to ship today. I will ship tomorrow if I can.
Okay. Yeah, Ricky Bird, welcome. Congratulations, Ricky Bird, for April Patreon Perks winner. Very good.
We should take a vote on taking him out of the wheel.
Yeah, I know, right?
What we're going to FDIC.
He says, I'll take you out of the bank.
Yeah, I'm sure. I was expecting him to be there at least one day.
Yeah, we'll see him. All right, let's share my screen real quick. We got to do a wheel of names for next week's
Turnout Drill.
Turnout Drill. Thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to think of 14 different things here. All right, we are up. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, so over here on the right, I just noticed shuffle. So we're going to shuffle a couple times. You guys see that? Where it's shuffling?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Shuffling. All right, let's see who next week.
Back and watch last week's episode with the girly girl.
Every day I'm shuffling.
Every day I'm shuffling.
Yeah, dude, she was hot.
Josh Bandy. Did we already do a turnout with Josh?
I think we did.
All right, we're going to do another one. Josh Bandy, welcome again.
Check the email and make sure we don't ask him the same questions.
Yeah, I can't believe I just said welcome again. Congratulations, man! I'm a mess today.
What's on the side of the screen today? It's not a naked.
Oh yeah,
lady.
what is that over there? I don't know.
Looks like an office setting.
Dude, that was so funny. Lingerie comes up.
Yeah. Say, flush those cookies.
Brian, the first thing I said was, "What kind of cookies you got, bro? What you been looking at?"
I was getting ready for work this morning. I was listening to the show, and I just chuckled to myself. My wife was like, "What is so funny?" Nothing. Nothing.
Oh, damn! Doug's got his bush. And,
30 racks were on sale for $20.
Dang, $20. That's good. That's a good price.
Not bad for a rental beer.
All right. That's Patreon. So go ahead and subscribe. Help us out. $1 for a rookie. It's best if you go the $2 splurge a little bit and do the engineer tier. Lots of fun stuff. Doug's on there all the time. So we love him for that. Merch, of course. Looks like Brian's got our sweatshirt on. Best hoodie in the business. 100%. I've gotten so many compliments on that and the hat. Yep. Sorry what I'm wearing today. It's like a summer day. Kids are on spring break. Went to the animal safari today. It was so much fun.
Your kids on spring break this week?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's weird how they break up the week sometimes. A lot of my kids were off last week. Some are off this week. I think some might have even been off the week before that. It's weird. I don't know how the schools work that out, but
I don't know either.
So this is the heavyweight one, and it is so comfortable.
It's a really nice hoodie.
Yeah. And I just bought a sweatshirt for the same price, if not more. And I will say that this is a much better quality. So go check it out in the storefront.
Solid, man.
I want to buy the lighter weight one just to see what it's like, but I'm like almost don't want to because I seriously wear my hoodie every day. I wake up and I put it straight on in the morning. I just love it. Sponsors. Unky's Seasoning. How did the grape flavored salt work out for you there, Unc?
Oh man, both my parents. Come to find out, both my parents fell for it, man.
Oh,
because I posted in our newsletter my dad's response, and I sent it to my mom, and she goes, "Oh, I thought you were really doing it." I was like, "I got you too." They're so super supportive.
All right, good.
But my dad was the only one who responded back in the family chat about it.
Yeah, very good. All right. So, look for Unky's Seasoning at FDIC in Indianapolis. Of course, we're going to be there with the Burn Box with Thomas. And so let's do a quick promo for Unky's Seasoning.
From the Firehouse to your house, Unky's Seasoning packs bold, Firehouse-tested flavor into every meal. Whether you're grilling, roasting, or just sprinkling it on your favorite snacks, our blends turn everyday eats into unforgettable bites. Pick your flavor, shake it on, and taste why it's Firehouse approved. Go to unkeyseasoning.com.
Awesome. Very good. And the Burn Box, we all got a Burn Box. Probably it's top 3 boxes that I've gotten from the Burn Box. I really enjoyed this week's. Last month's was awesome too. The hoodie, the blue collar fireman hoodie was really cool.
2 months ago, I think.
Was that 2 months ago?
I think so.
I'm always into St. Patrick's, but
yes,
my wedge
cool
came out red. I had the red wedge.
It did. I think they're probably all red. I would think.
Dude, I love wedges. Yeah,
metal wedges are like you said last week. They're just elite. They're just so useful.
They're great to throw at cars that speed by traffic scenes.
Yes.
Whew. Slow down, move over.
Better than throwing your flashlight. Especially you got a burn box. You get them every once in a while, so they're easy to replace than the department's flashlights.
There it is. Yep. Metal wedges, heavy duty. Pound that sucker into anything.
A windshield.
A windshield, yeah.
There's a driving by on a back road.
All right. Quick promo for the Burn Box.
Brought to you by the Burn Box, the #1 firefighter subscription box. The Burn Box celebrates firefighter products and firefighter-owned and operated businesses. Start today and receive a monthly box of firefighter apparel, gear, and tools. Check them out at theburnbox.com.
All right, very good. Moment of silence, boys. I don't think we have anything specific or anything close and near and dear to our hearts. I did want to bring up one thing during this time. Nobody died that I know of, but I saw a story of a fireman who was off duty and one of his neighbor's houses caught on fire. And his name is Greg DeGrief. He's from Pattonville Fire. I think it's in Missouri, but he was off duty, ran in there with nothing on. I don't think he was naked, but ran in there with no SCBA, no turnouts, no nothing, saves his neighbor and runs out and probably saves a life or two. I don't know. I just thought that was pretty amazing. Did I cuss?
I did. I said, fuck yeah. Sorry, Rick.
Oh, all right. Very good. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that guy up. I mean, how freaking awesome is that? We've talked about it before.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
On and off duty, we are, firemen both. So the guy goes in there and just does his duty, even though he's not even working. How awesome is that? So here's to him. But yeah, a quick moment of silence for all the firefighters, first responders that we may have lost over the last week. All right.
Can I chime in real quick?
Hey, look, my hair's still done. Look at that. Still got some
real quick
product
before
up
we
there.
get into the main topic. We historically have done line of duty deaths related to like incidents, responses, fires, stuff like that. And I think Doug has brought it up once or twice, and it hit me this morning when I was listening to this month's show, or this week's show, excuse me. We don't put on the websites like U.S. Fire Administration, National Fallen Firefighters Foundation, but I wonder how many folks this week died of an occupational cancer. I think it's very tragic when we think about that, and we see it more and more. And what made me think of that again was as I was scrolling this morning, as we all do, first thing in the morning, having our cup of coffee, right? Like checking socials and doing stuff. I had come across a page where I had seen a guy who post 9/11, he had responded 9/11, retired, moved down south and made it his mission to kind of just keep the 9/11 story alive. And he recently died of occupational cancer. And I'm sure it is, that is told somewhere, but we missed it. We missed it on the show as well as on some page somewhere. It got missed. And so I thought about that. And, I just want us, and I forgot about it even before we said it, but I want us to try to be reminded to say that anyone who died in the line of duty or as the result of service. So I'm going to try to be better at saying that, because there are those things that happen years later after the turnouts are turned in. So
Quick little point on that. One of my good buddies from down here, from down home, worked for our department, Frank Jr., as people call him, finished radiation today for prostate cancer. This is his second time being treated for it, so cross your fingers that it will be knocked out this time. So, Frank, we're thinking about you, big dog. Can't wait to get you back to work.
All right.
for sure.
And back to the main topic. So some old school versus new school. I got a list here. There's basically statements, and we'll just kind of go. Whoever wants to speak up. We don't not all four of us have to talk on each statement, but we'll just kind of give what we think is true or false, and just kind of give a brief reason why.
I hope this drums up a lot of interaction on this post. I hope it drums up a lot of chiming in.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Perspectives.
And you don't just have to comment on Spotify too. Go to our YouTube. Go to the big channel, because you can comment there as many times as you want. So go there.
Yeah,
our
YouTube's tough, man. I mean, we get pummeled on YouTube.
Tough nut to crack,
dude. Like 14 views or something. All right, first one. The first one has to do with like culture and brotherhood. Okay, here's like the first set. The firehouse used to feel more like a family than it does today. True or false?
True.
Okay. Adam says true. Why?
So much has changed, man. Or the times you can start with phones. You start with that.
Dude, absolutely. When I was on the ambulance, before I got hired as a firefighter, the captain was like, hey, my deal is no phones at the dinner table. And so if somebody pulled it out, you know, like he obviously didn't enforce it, but maybe he enforced it by throwing some potatoes at you or something. But he tried his best to keep everybody off their phones. But I don't know about you guys, but we don't get a newspaper to our firehouse anymore. Do you guys?
No, not anymore.
No. So everybody's sitting there.
Probably about 10 years ago.
That long.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if ours is
about when most of ours stopped too. There was a few hanging on, but I think everybody's finally done with it now. I mean, most of the newspapers have pretty much gone out of business. Like, there's not many that print anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be like 8 sections. Now it's one section with hardly
really,
anything in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me
So
do
true for me also.
I was going to say true. Let me go back to the phone piece real quick. Kind of tag on to that, to Matt's question. At what point, because we've all been around the fire station for a while, were you always allowed to have your phone out? So like for me, when I was on shift, and I realized I've been out for a long time, off shift work, when I was on it, we weren't allowed to be on our phones until after 5 o'clock. So that was kind of a rule. Like during the day, nope. Unless you were back in your room.
StarTax made a lot of noises when you try to call people.
Say what?
The StarTax.
Oh, yes. 100%.
Motorola.
How about y'all? Were you always allowed to have it, or?
Yeah. A couple of people in my recruit class, when we came out 12 years ago, some of their bosses were like, look, you're on your phone too much. You got other shit you need to be focused on. Especially in your probationary time, you got a lot of shit you need to be focused on. My true is because of the modern fire station designs, in my opinion, have caused people to have their own little space. So people tend to disappear more often and sooner. Like a lot of our newer stations that have private living quarters, after supper, gone. Nobody hangs out and talks. Nobody watches movies. Like my crew, every night we watch something on TV together. Whether it be a movie or we watch some stupid YouTube videos. We watched Whistling Diesel for like 2 hours yesterday because that guy's amazing. But yeah, I think the modern fire station design has really affected that a lot too, especially Gen Pop bunk rooms.
Gen Pop, yeah.
General population, yeah.
So we've kind of hit on that. I know we want to get through a lot of these, but do you think that that's also I don't want to say a leadership, but a culture thing in that fire station? Like to your point, Doug, like it's you guys. You're like, hey, we're gonna watch this. Or Matt, like you talked about it in last week's show. Like your captain's like, hey, you know, no one gets up until the captain gets up. So it's like, hey, go get spades. We're gonna play spades. Mm-hmm. And so the culture in that fire station, even in 2026, is what you make it. It's not necessarily the station design. And so to the point of the question is, and to Adam's point, it's like, it's because we've allowed it to be that way, right? Like, I mean, I don't see on social media, even from 10 years ago, the breakup pictures. You know what I'm talking about? Like when a crew got broke up and it's like, last shift together, man, such a great group, da-da-da-da-da. And I think that, and I've noticed this, like when I go by and see folks hanging out together as a crew, I can tell the ones who do just like Doug said, or like Matt said, who sit around and hang around together and watch a show together and do all these other things, because that is what is expected of them by their leadership in that shift in that crew.
Well,
so
it just makes a much better house. And my department's guilty of it, and I'm sure others are as well, but transferring people around. My department, because we've got different demographics or what's the word I'm looking for? Different
generations?
No, different districts and how they're made up. And because we've got so many different day work departments, we have a we're still trying to catch up with ALS, if that makes sense. We don't have enough ALS providers. Some of our local departments, everybody has to be ALS. Ours, you do not. So we're still trying to catch up and add as many as we can to that, because we transfer a lot of people strictly for ALS needs, because we have to have that on every fire engine. We have acting officer shortages where we don't have enough people to act. My first transfer, I got shipped out because I just became an acting officer and they needed one. So we tend to break crews up after a couple of years when they're just starting to really, really gel. And to me, I feel like that's a much better unit to keep together, because those guys can read each other's minds on the fireground. The guys that sit around and bullshit together and watch that movie at night, those guys that want to be together, they work best together, and girls for that matter.
That's a great point. That's a great point. But
there's something to be said. Not to play devil's advocate, but I see both sides of it. I understand that sometimes you can be at a place too long, but at the same time, if the performance isn't faltering at that house, I'd do everything in my power if I was a battalion chief not to break that crew up.
Yeah. So not to keep on, this is only the first one.
On to the next one. Yeah.
But this is a piggyback, because we've already kind of talked about it, but the kitchen table conversations aren't what they used to be, true or false. And I think that's 100% true, just because of the dynamic of what you said, Adam, is the phone. That's completely changed. I don't know about completely. There was always those guys that were behind that newspaper, and their head didn't pop up unless they heard something, kind of weird, and then they just went right back underneath. But what we're talking about nowadays at the table that much different than we used to? I don't know. Our conversations around the kitchen table are pretty frank. They're pretty.
So phrase the question.
I can't record them. So the question is: the kitchen table conversations aren't what they used to be. True or false?
True for me, because of the political correctness and the sensitive nature of a lot of things that get talked about at the kitchen table. And I think most guys and girls pretty much understand that some things are off limits. You just look, we're not going to talk about that. So I think it has changed a little. Again, the phones are a big part of it too, but
Brian's kind of going back and forth.
I agree.
I agree
with Doug.
I'm going back and forth because I'm seeing it from a different lens. I'm seeing it from when I sat at the table, and now when I go as the chief officer who sits there and tries to get information out. And then once that I open up that garden hose, here's the difference. There's some people who will not speak at all. And then there's other people that once I open it up, man, there is no filter. That if I would have been in that spot 20 years ago, I would have never said anything like that to a chief officer. Now, I think that is society as a whole. We live behind a keyboard, and sometimes I'm like, they feel comfortable enough. But
what age are those people?
Right. I was going to say, these are brand new, 18, 20-year-old young firefighters that understand that, hey, I'm going to say what I'm going to say because the chief has asked me, my thoughts. But 20 years ago, if I would have asked questions like that, my captain would have been like, what were you thinking? You should never have asked that. We're going out and doing hose lays for like 4 days. Why would you do that? But then at the same time, the chief officer, if he wanted to have pulled recourse, he could have, and there would have been nothing that anybody would have said. So to your point, that's why I'm saying I'm like back and forth, because it is more, to your point, Doug, it is a little bit different than it was, right? But back then, we didn't worry about things like clarity and the why and all this other stuff. It was generationally different.
Why do we do this?
So that's why I said
because
it
I
is
said
different.
So.
Oh, 100%.
Now, exactly. That was then. Now, these kids, as I call them, because they're all kids to me. If you were born after I got out of high school, you're a kid to me. This younger generation, they just want to know why. And they want to feel welcome and part of the group and part of the team. So that's their way of feeling and welcome. And if you include them in that, you're going to get a better product at the end of the day.
They almost feel like they have to be part of the decision, even though they don't understand that they're not part of it.
Right.
And so,
but you explain the why and let them understand that. And they're like, oh, cool.
Right.
I'm good with that.
And I'm not saying, and I know we need to go on to the next one, but I'm not saying that they don't. But as we talk about in our class, that Matt and I developed, is there's a time that you're part of the decision and there's times that you're not in the fire service. And I think that they need to understand that. There's times when you don't get a vote and there's times that you do.
Yep.
Oh man, new firefighters are going to hear that clip and they're going to be like, "That is not true." You know, like, I do what I want. You know what I mean? But I'm here to say it. No, that's not that, and it's not the way. And I could be totally wrong, right? I could just be putting words in their mouths, but we're here having a discussion. So I'm also going to be a little bit of devil's advocate, just hearing some of the things that I've heard on social media from comments and stuff like that. But I don't know. But yeah, no, that's good. And this one goes right into the next one. So it just piggybacks perfectly. And Doug, you had talked about the new firefighters. So this says new firefighters are more sensitive than previous generations.
True.
1,000% true.
1,000%
yes.
true. And so, I'll just,
oh boy, I'm gonna try not to step into here.
Doug,
this is the same generation of college age kids that are or fresh out of college, the low to mid 20 kids who needed safe spaces to talk about COVID and shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
But we can't just.
This is not a sensitive job.
We can't put them.
No, you can't. No. You cannot put them all in one basket. Absolutely not. There are anomalies and exceptions to that rule, but it's 100% true.
Yeah. Yes, I was going to say, now I can't remember. Oh, I was going to say this. I say this to say that. It was, Doug, you said something about, they want to know the why. They want to know why we're doing it. It's because I said so, right? So we say that. But on the other hand, we also say we hate when people say, because that's the way we've always done it, right? We're trying to get away from that. And we're trying to have a little bit of a why. So which one is it, right? I mean, I think that we allow the kids, because I call them kids too. Oh, shit, I'm 42. And the kids can say why. And I have no problem with it. And we've talked about this. And this was one of the reasons why we kind of developed that, right? Episode 55 or whatever. Is it okay for a probationary firefighter or a younger firefighter to question a captain or say, "Hey, Cap, like that's part of my expectations at the beginning of the year." It's like, "Hey, 6 eyes are better than 2, my friends. I'm all ears." But, and this goes back to the last statement, I make the decision. It's on me. I'm the captain. I'm wearing the heavy red helmet, and I have to be the one that makes those decisions. But your input is 100% valued. And if you're a captain or you're a lieutenant in whatever, type of situation you guys work in, and you don't have that, man. Oosh.
But there's a time.
How's the morale in your firehouse?
But there's a time and a place for that, because if that firefighter chooses at the end of the dinner to throw their plate in the dishwasher and walk to their room, they've chose to not have buy-in. They've chose to not get clarity, right? But then if all of a sudden out there on that incident, they want to question it, that's where I have a problem with it.
Well, right? That's a completely another issue that needs to be addressed immediately. Like this is not the time and place where you get an opinion. Anytime on an incident scene,
that's
fireground, car wreck, EMS call, whatever it is, you do what you're told unless it's an unsafe act, period. End of discussion.
Right.
But see, the problem...
we're not talking about that.
But the problem that we're having is the lack of correlation and urgency to clarity, right? They don't care about having clarity after dinner, or the correlation to, oh man, I really am going to need to know this. And I say they, right? But what our generation has done is we have 14 years of experiences to say, I probably need to know why that is, right? And we've spent the last, what episode are we on? I have no idea, right? Trying to reiterate 160 some times in some way, form or fashion, whether it's talking about mental health and all the times, or whether it's the 4 words that I say every time, right? Those things, or if I'm not going to say it on the show, but I'm just going to reiterate it. But those things, or something else that basically says, this is why we do those things. Unfortunately, they don't have those reps of those calls and those experiences behind them to give them the clarity that has no words, right? And what I mean by that is it's the incidences that are burned into our brain. And that's where the generational differences come. And that's where we we didn't have the opportunity. And I think that's where I don't want to say struggled, but we have the captains who said, because I said so. That's the generational differences. They want to hear it with words. We saw it with experiences.
But you build that through trust.
100%. But they live in a generation where there is no trust. Right. They have no trust. Once you
built that work trust with your crew and or your supervisor, that gets a little easier.
Sure. Yeah. They struggle with trust, this generation, because they can't trust a text message. They can't trust someone they played video games with. Yeah. You know, they don't trust that, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of to K. Bill's point. I mean, they're not out playing, you know, basketball. They're not playing baseball. They're not doing these other things. And so they don't have those foundational societal reps to give them trust.
Man.
Yeah.
I never really thought about that, but that is heavy. Like that this generation has a hard time trusting. And I'm sitting here because, you know, I've always thought that it's because this generation, like our generation, Doug, and Adam, and like, or really, and Brian, is like, we've told our kids that, or, you know, it's really the generation actually before us that were having kids that were saying, God, you are perfect. You are 100% great. Good job. You've never done anything wrong. And then they go out into the real world and they get told no. And they're like, ugh, and they pout and they have a total meltdown. But the whole fact that they have a hard time trusting, that is man, I'm going to write that down and really delve into that, because that's really interesting.
I saw this the other day, and it said, we as a generation, we're told don't trust strangers and don't get in the car with somebody you don't know. And now we get on our phone and we call a fucking Uber. Sorry, Rhett. A stranger, and then we get in the car with them and just expect them, and we trust them because of technology, allegedly, and then something bad happens, and then that trust is broken. So you know what I mean? Like we were out, don't stranger danger. You know what I mean?
Well, let's go one step further.
We just get on our app and call a car that somebody you don't even know. You can't even pronounce his name probably. You just get in the car with him and hope he's going to take you where you want to go.
As a society, we have apps that we celebrate, that we swipe left or right for a nightly hookup with a complete stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we've done. And we celebrate it.
Trust
it's a
is included
scoreboard.
in that too, because you hope you're not getting catfished.
100%.
So then it seems like this generation does trust.
Says she looking like Janet Jackson. Bitch got out of the car looking like Freddie Jackson. That was trusting in my era.
It's the wrong type of trust is what I'm trying to reiterate, right?
Okay.
That's what I'm trying
we're going to have to, this is going to be a topic.
Yeah,
this
100%.
We're going to move on. But trust, I mean, I've talked about my morals and ethics, and, you know, faith is up there, family, but trust is almost on top of faith for me, because like, if you don't trust in your faith, you don't trust what you're saying, well, you have zero, you have nothing. Right. And let's take it to the fire service. Like, if you have a fire officer that you don't trust, you have zero. That guy ain't getting off the fire engine for you. Not at all. He's getting off the fire engine
in the
because
toilet.
And he or she's getting off the engine because they have to. You know what I mean? It's their job. They don't get a paycheck every other week if they don't get off that fire engine, but they ain't getting off it for you. Yep. So that's scary. Okay, we're gonna talk about that later. Holy smokes, that's a great one. Wow. All right, I'm gonna get away from the culture and brotherhood, because we obviously love that topic, but we could talk about it for another 15 hours. So training and performance. How about this one, folks? We've talked about this one pretty recently, but firefighters today are more trained and educated than ever before. True or false?
True.
I got to say, and Brian, this is going to be a good one. You've been in the fire service the longest out of all four of us. So you got to see when you came up through the ranks, when you started as a volunteer in 98?
1998.
Yeah.
Actually, even before then, I started coming around the Firehouse probably 95, 96.
The only thing I'm going to say is, and I think that the old guys that have just retired in the last, from 1 to 10 years ago are going to say that we are doing more in the fire service today than we've ever done. Therefore, we are training because, we are highly trained paramedics. We're highly trained search and rescue. We're trained so highly at so many different things. Is that the case, like what this says, ever before?
I'm going to say false. And here's the reason why I say that is because I don't know that we're more trained. I mean, your brain can only absorb so much, right? Like the bandwidth. I would say, are we Are we more specialized in some of those areas or more refined? Possibly, right? But if I understood your question correctly, you said, are we more trained? And my answer to that would be no. I mean, at the end of the day, you can replace certain things with something else, right? So like, somebody who's a firefighter paramedic is pretty well versed. I go back to my buddy Joe. Doug sent a picture of Joe Harvey, and I'll never forget. We were at the National Fire Academy. We were leaving, and I got my man's expedition. This has been probably 15 years ago. And I wrote in it, and I said, man, Joe, you got a shotgun back here. And he's like, yeah, that's for my law enforcement. And I was like, wait a minute. So you're a firefighter, a paramedic, a cop, and a fire investigator. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, when do you do your job, man? Like all you ever do is just train. Like at the end of the day,
and somebody said, that guy's got a gun. It was pretty cool. Yeah,
but
I mean, to be there.
Yeah, but I mean, like at the end of the day, like, can you be really, and I'm not picking on Joe. I think the world of Joe, if he was sitting here today.
I know where you're going. It's the jack of all trades, master of none. You have to wear so many hats.
Yes. And is he great at any of those, or is he good at all of those? And I think that that's what it is. And you could say that 20 years ago, and you can say that 20 years from now. And that's what I'll say is that we have refined and mastered those crafts 100%, right? We are learning and we are refining those skills and mastering those skills in each one of those. But are we more trained? I don't think so. Because again, what you will find is you will find people who are great in each one of those. But to say that they are better trained in everything, I don't know about that.
So no, you were correct though, Brian. It's not better. It's just more. Firefighters today are more trained and educated than ever before. I think we've put a heavy emphasis over here on the West Coast, at least, huh?
I said, I'll say a yes to that part. More educated. Yes.
We're more educated. I think a lot more people have bachelor's degrees. Now, I think that you go talk to a guy that retired 15 years ago, bachelor degree does not make you more educated than I was back in the day. That's what he'll say.
I'll say that right now.
Right. And I think a lot of people have that notion. It's just like, HR pushing, the fact that firemen are making X amount of money without even an associate's degree. And it's like, okay, that's just old school thinking.
You know what? I know welders around here that make more than I make as a fireman paramedic.
Right.
I know welders around here who make more than guys with master's degrees.
Yeah. Same on the West Coast. I mean, we make good money over here on the West Coast, but per hour,
blue collar trades get paid.
100%. All right. Here's a good one.
I gotta what's the word? Debate Brian. I was trying to think of I gotta go against your point. With the social media we have today, with the hot classes and all these things that we have an ability to train outside of our department that so many guys and girls are doing, we are absolutely more trained and more educated, because this ties back to you, Brian, and talking about Joe Harvey with the fire marshal's office. Building construction has changed. We have to train on those things that are new. We did a sim today, a command sim today on an apartment building that was the absolute worst design I have ever seen in my life. And it is new construction right across the street from Fire Station 1 in the heart of Chester, Virginia. Alpha side, you walk in, looks like one story. Well, it looks like two because it's got false dormers, but it's one story. You go to the Charlie side, looks like 3 stories, but it's 2 because of dormers. However, you go in Alpha side, you've got some first floor apartments. Charlie side, you've got 2-story, 1-story, 2-story, 2-story, 1/1, 2-story, 1/1, 2-story, 1/1. And it was absurd because of where the fire was at in that apartment in the command sim. He kept putting water on it from the outside because he sent a crew in there to try to get to it. We can't find no stairs, boss, because that was a 1/1. The fire was in the single 1-story apartment above, and they couldn't put the fire out. So because of those kind of things, we have to train more. And kids these days are more trained and more educated, hands down. Moving on.
All right. I'd like to know. I mean, we'll do a little call to action here in the middle of the episode, whatever you're on, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, let us know what you think. And I would really love to hear from the old guys. I don't know how many old.
The social media is what does it, man. That shit's driving so much change for good, and some of it bad, but a lot of it's good.
Yeah. No, a lot of it's good. You're right. I mean, it's just the thing is that with social media, the negative is so much louder than the positive, right? Absolutely. The positives are a click, the little heart, right? I like that.
Yeah,
like
they won't comment. They
won't comment, right? Unless they want to be part of the conversation.
They want to stay out of the controversy,
right? But the negative, people love it, right? I've got guys I work with that specifically have accounts just so they can go and troll people, and I'm like, you guys you're idiots. They're the mutts, and that's what I call them. I call him a corner mutt, and if he's not listening to this right now, he'll see the whatever. I'm not even going to give him the time. Anyways, let's move on. That was a good one. So here's another really good one. Experience, dude, guys say this on comments all the time. This is going to be good. Experience used to matter more than certifications. Now it's flipped. True or false?
No,
I lean true.
True.
I think
because a lot of departments you got to have a degree to get promoted.
You have to have an associate's degree to be a captain in my department. And I have a lot. I know a lot of lieutenants in my department. One has been a lieutenant for 32, 34 years, something like that. Doesn't have.
They got an art degree.
Yeah, doesn't have a degree. Doesn't have an associate's degree, which is 64 credits, I think, or something.
Degree.
But yeah, dude.
So this day and age
goes back to what we just talked about, the college degree thing. I don't give a damn what your papers in your file say, or your certificates in your file say. What do the papers in your file say about your performance?
Love it.
What have you done as a fireman, as an acting officer, whatever? What have you done in the real world? In actual calls. I've been an acting officer for 9 years. I mentioned this earlier. I'm finally going to take the lieutenant's test this year because I feel like I've earned that right to take the test and say, all right, I've got enough acting front seat experience to go be a good company officer, not only on the fire ground, but how to treat my people. Yeah. However, conversely, we've got people that as soon as you have to act for 2 years, I think, before you can take the test. Like as soon as they get their 2 years up, they start taking the test. And I'm like, that's not somebody I want to promote because that person to me has not earned that title. So I don't care about your certificates. I don't care about how many classes you go to. Yes, they are beneficial. However, to me, they do not outweigh experience. Yeah. Wisdom comes from experience, not sitting in the classroom listening to a lecture.
Yeah. I mean, you can have a 5-year fireman that has taken 20 classes, has every class in the whole world. He just started signing up, going to classes, or you could have a 15-year fireman who's been at a busy house.
You could have a 5-year fireman at that busy house that's run 3 times the calls that other guy has. Even if say they came out of the same recruit school, that 5-year guy who's been in the shit more often than not, I want that guy. I don't care about the guy that's been to classes and heard somebody else tell him how to do it. He hasn't done it or instructed somebody how to do it or done it himself or herself. All right. Sorry. I always forget that.
I love it. Anybody else on that?
I'll stand firm on that forever. I've stood firm on that since I was 18 years old, even in the correctional field I was in. I don't give a damn about your degree. If you have a college degree in criminal justice administration, that don't make you a better employee than me.
Right.
I have 2 thoughts. First one real quick, and I'll go through this pretty quick. Matt, when you went and got your degree, I think you have your bachelor's now, correct?
I do, yeah.
Is it in fire service related topics?
Yeah, it's fire administration.
Mine is fire administration as well. Was the majority of your classes basically a reiteration of your certifications?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, there was a lot of the way fire moves, convention, all the, it was investigations.
So was mine. So I will tell this for everyone who's listening online. 2027 will be 10 years that I graduated from my bachelor's degree. My bachelor's degree taught me how to document is what it did. It basically took everything that I learned coming up to that point and in certifications and regurgitated it again in a different way. And mine was just a crap ton of papers. I don't know about yours, Matt, but that's basically what it was. I wrote a 5-page paper pretty much every week in every class. And I was writing 2 5-page papers every week. And it taught me how to document. Going back to your point, Doug, and again, I'm saying this and I'm preaching to the choir when I say this. If SAC, I guess I'm going to say 3 things. If SAC, the way that most states have them, and pro board state certs, if you follow the JPRs of any certifications, you shouldn't be able to just sit there and pass a test. You should be able to show that you can do the actual skill, whether that be fire officer, whether that be driver operator, whether that be anything. Now, that lastly is only the start to then allow you to do that function on the fire ground. So to your point, 100%, Doug, the why of that is if you don't create a culture in your fire department that looks at somebody and says, thank you for going to get the certification, but you don't have the reps to do the job, you're not ready, then you are doing a disservice to every other people in that organization. And unfortunately, I have had to have that conversation several times. And if you organizationally are hurting for people that bad, then your training division or
you failed somewhere.
You have failed somewhere. So what you need to do as a chief officer is you need to go have conversations with your company officers and say, hey, y'all, we're hurting for people. So let's get outside and get some reps in with some people. And let's get some of these things done. So that way, whenever we do a tactical scenario or we get some things done, we have to get it done. So that way, these people don't make us look bad, or better yet, we can trust each other, right? Because again, it doesn't matter. That certification, that diploma that sits up on my mantle really was an investment of money to get me where I needed to be, because HR says to be comparable with other people in the organization to get in the same pay band as the deputy whatever, you got to have this piece of paper. That's all that did. Sorry,
organizations need to tell people, I appreciate your degree. I appreciate you going to all these classes, but I need to see you put that into play and execute it before I 100%. Trust you enough to lead a crew of people and do it the correct way. I need you to be 100%. Able to make the correct decisions in those situations. So once you prove that to me, it makes you that much more attractive to promote when that time comes.
Well, and again,
but that's a difficult conversation that a lot of people are not willing to have.
Well, and again, if they're not willing to have that conversation, I don't want to be with them. We've talked about that Correct. A lot here recently about mentorship and leadership. If they can't have those conversations, then they didn't need to be promoted either. And that's Correct. Just a fact.
And back to you're just setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. So I think it's I could say this for you guys and tell me if you agree or not. It's not a bad thing to encourage your guys as officers to go out and get your degree. I'm not going to say that going to this class is better than going and getting your degree. I mean, all of it encompassing, right? I mean, there's a lot of things to learn in the fire service. We tell the rookies is like, okay, buckle up and get your bandwidth open because you're going to be thrown so much stuff, right? And one of those things could be your bachelor's degree, could be your associate's degree. It's going to make you a better person. Brian, going through your bachelor's degree and having to do those papers, you learned something. You learned how to write. You learned 100%. How to, you learned comprehension. You read, you researched, you put these papers together, you finished something.
And the discipline, the discipline it took to start that and finish it.
100%.
Now, saying that to say this, don't put so much weight on a bachelor's degree when going for promotions. So you've got 5 guys that are going for the promotion. You've got 2 guys with bachelor's degrees, and all of a sudden they're propelled up to the top in the minds of the chiefs because like, oh my gosh, these guys got their bachelor's degree. They look way better, to HR, or like, that's not what this profession should be. Like this profession is blue collar, go out there, work your ass off and make smart decisions. Just like Doug said. And how do you get that? Rolodex. Like you get Rolodex. I wasn't as lucky. I work in a small department and we are going through baby boomers like crazy, right? We've had 15 people retire in the last 6 years. I mean, a third of our department has had to promote earlier than they want. But we just had to step up, and we get those Rolodex through training. And we do sims in the back of the like you said, we sit there and put out fake fires. We go to live fire training. We go to classes. We have to step up and be there for our community. You know what I mean? So it's kind of tough. And we've said this before. We talk to a very broad audience, 100 stations to one station. You know what I mean? So it's tough to kind of encompass everybody. But that's all I'll say. I think you guys agree with that. Like, just don't put so much weight. Don't all of a sudden like they're already 80%, well, as the other guys that don't have bachelor's degrees, they're sitting there at 50%. You know what I mean? When they're looking to promote.
I will tell folks this pretty early on is go ahead and get the degree out of the way. If you think that at some point you would like to be a chief officer, go ahead and get it out of the way early because it'll be much easier for you in life. Right.
Yes.
If not, it gets so much harder and you get so disgruntled, right? And distraught. If not, it's easier for you to do it. To that point, if you've got 2 5-page papers to write in a week, you can knock that out on shift, right? Like you can go back to your room. If you're going to go back there and scroll TikTok and Instagram,
5 pages is nothing.
Is nothing, right? Yeah. So, but you can do that as a 2-3 year guy on the job who's, young and married and like figure it out while you're also taking a lot of those certifications while they're fresh in your head. If you wait till much later in the career, like I did, or like Matt did 10, 15 years on the job, all of a sudden it's like, man, I know I took this class and it's there. And it's a memory, but it's also in the busiest time of your life. And that's what makes it harder and more stressful. So, get it out of the way sooner and you'll have it. And then if you decide not to use it, well, again, you can look back at it and say, hey, I did this.
Quick circle back. I told you my first transfer was because I became an acting officer and they needed one at the station I went to. The station I went to, the officer there was Dean Clary, who we recently buried not long ago from occupational cancer, good friend of mine. Well, when he left, the guy that came and took his place wasn't there very often because he was always either in the staffing office or the safety officer's vehicle. So I was the only acting officer at the station. So I got a lot of seat time early in my acting officer career. And one winter, I went to 8 or 9 first or second due house fires, working house fires. And the amount of experience I gained in that short amount of time was immeasurable. Mm-hmm. So kids that came out of my recruit school with me who didn't have volunteer experience, guys like me who didn't have much fire experience, I was miles ahead of them as far as strategy and tactics and fireground operations and being a company officer goes. So the experience will always outweigh it for me. Always.
Love that. Dude, really good discussion, man. Literally we've gone through maybe 20% of the question or the statements. So we're going to definitely follow up with a second, part 2 of true or false. In fact, we might even kind of make this, kind of a topic that we do maybe once a month. It's just really good to discuss. All right. One more. Oh gosh, you just put me on the spot here. Cause I was they're kind of grouped in categories. And so that was more of like a leadership and promotions. Let me see if there's another one in that group. The new, we kind of talked about this one already, but true or false, the new fire service produces better leaders earlier in their careers. Oof.
Say that again.
The new fire service produces better leaders earlier in their careers.
Leaders, yes.
Yeah. Oh man,
back to the training thing.
Answer that.
Back to the training thing. And again, speaking from my department, we do really well at teaching leadership and qualities and traits of good leaders and how to manage people. Leadership is about managing people to me.
Yeah.
You got leaders and managers, right?
Right.
Leaders manage people, managers manage stuff,
Sure.
right? There's a difference. Yeah. And we are much better at teaching our people how to be better people.
Yeah.
How to take care of your people. Again, in my opinion, that's true to me.
All right. One last one. Today's officers are more focused on policies than people.
Oof. That's a tough one for me.
No.
I don't know that that's true.
I got to lean false.
I know, me too.
I got to lean false. I would say, I'm definitely false because back to the generational thing, they're more concerned about the people and their feelings and the generational change that we're in the midst of being included and the inclusivity of everything, I think they're much more concerned about people.
I think this is an issue. So what this says to me is at the beginning of every year, I told you guys we rebid station and shift every year. We're small. And so we get a new crew every day or every year. But, we're so small that we know each other so well. You know what I mean? We almost know everybody.
It's not like a new crew. Yeah.
It's not. Everybody knows each other intimately. Right. Yeah. And so so it is very important for us to sit down the first shift or two and talk about expectations. And expectations oftentimes come down to policies, right? It also comes down to tactics and strategies stuff. We'll talk about if we get a vent job, hey, this is your spot, this is your spot, this is your spot. This is my expectation on a fire, blah, 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 right? But some of it's like, hey, the uniform policy is uniform policy, boys. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm the one being held accountable. Yeah. And if I'm quiet, if I don't say anything, then I'm basically, condoning it. Right. And so we have to abide by this. Right. Exactly. And if you set that expectation early and they trust you, then you're not going to have any issues. Right. And if you lead by example, right, you're not going to be the guy that is out of uniform policy at whatever time. These guys are like, they see it. They're like, okay. And then all of a sudden you are one day and they're not. And then they go, what the hell, dude? You start coming down on, you can't be that guy. And that's,
you said it. If you don't address it, you condone it. Yeah. You're just encouraging it.
Right.
But it's pretty simple.
It is. It can be.
It can be.
And I don't know if you're going to have this situation, Doug, but for me, when I got promoted to captain, my chief came to me and he said, the guys that you never would have expected are going to test you. And I was like, what? I was like, no. I'm like, I'm not Rolf, dude. Like, dude, we all get along. We're going to be great. Like, nope. You're like, you look over and you're like, seriously? Like, that just happened? Like, what? Why are you doing this? You can't fucking do that. Sorry, Ray.
But that accountability holding doesn't have to be a bad engagement. No. It can be a simple,
1,000,000%.
It can be a very simple thing. It can be just a look and look at him, he's like, I got it. That's holding him accountable. And now he understands that I cannot do that.
Yes. But yes, being comfortable.
Because he knows. Yes. He's just testing you.
Yes. And I'm not going to compare this, but it's like, kids love to, push the boundaries. Like that's their thing.
Yeah.
And firefighters are no different. Like we've talked about, and Adam, you've said it a million times. Like I love being a fireman. I don't have to grow up. And it's kind of like that, as firemen, you're going to kind of push the boundaries and it's up to the officer to be like, to do just what you said. Like that chicken look.
Where you
look at them with just one eye, you know what I mean?
There's no greater habitual line stepper than Big City Doug. I love to step the line. I will do anything you tell me to do, but tell me why I'm doing it. And I'm an old school guy, but at the same time, I'm not going to do no frivolous shit just to do frivolous shit. Yeah. Sorry, Rhett. But I'm absolutely. But if you allow that little dumb stuff that's just going to fester among the crew, and that's a whole nother topic. But yeah.
That's a whole nother topic. Yeah. Well, good. Hey, we hit a lot of really good stuff. Can we do some?
This was great.
Can we do some snail mail?
And I think I talked more Brian tonight.
I know.
Brian, if you call mail call one more time, I'm going to kick you off. I don't have the authority to kick you off this fire. I was going to say this fire engine. I'm going to kick you off this fire engine.
I love doing it. It's just that's my habitual line stepping thing is I like to call it mail call just to screw with you.
All right, snail mail.
It's snail mail time.
Snail mail. Snail mail. I love singing. Singing. And I love what's that from Elf?
Yes. I'm singing.
All right. I don't have a ton of snail mail today, but there is an overwhelming hatred for taking food from outside people. people are okay. So
what? You can't take other people's shifts food?
No, nobody
people
said
that deliver to the station.
People said, unfortunately, oh gosh, I gotta find it.
I work Sunday. We have a church group that comes to my fire station every Sunday, no matter who's working, and brings a Danish or some fruit or some drink, some orange juice, and whatever. They bring something for us for brunch every Sunday. And we appreciate the shit out of it. And it's always good stuff. It's always unopened. It's sealed. They're pretty good about it. So yeah, we're happy about that.
So this guy KFire30 on TikTok said, first thing, I am never eating anything that isn't store-bought and still sealed because you never know what the inside of that house looks like.
That's can't fair. Eat at everybody's house. We had this one lady. She hasn't come by in a while, so maybe she got the hint. I don't know, but she used to bring this Indian food that was super heavy with curry. It was like yellow. And she'd leave her pot and then come back and get it a couple of days later. Respect. As soon as she left, that shit went to the dumpster. It was so bad. Oh my God. But he's right. I don't know what that lady does in her house. I did a TikTok a long time ago. It was at least 3.5 years ago because the house was still being built because I was in my RV when I did it. And it was somebody who flipped over a pot with an old pair of underwear as a pot holder. I'm like, I know, bro. What? No.
Oh Dan Levesque said Gonzo. Nothing said nothing. No, probably nobody. Nobody said nothing. So he is totally down with eating, like what you said, eating the other shifts.
Them cookies ain't making it a shift change. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bring me a Food Line gift card, man. Don't bring me no food. Bring me a gift card.
Yeah, right. I'm glad. Yeah. Man, we had some. Gosh, I wish I had these pulled up. I think that's kind of it. There is this one guy said on the fire. He said fire culture is a joke. And that was on the post where I said that if you're a rookie fireman, this doesn't apply to you. You basically have to do everything. And he didn't like that. He said fire culture is a joke. And so I responded. I said, nah, it depends on where you are. I said, I don't think we could blanket statement that. My department is so amazing. Everyone gets along. We train a crap load and run a good call. And I said, and then we go home. Sorry you think that. Sir Plopper. I understand.
Was yes. I'm going to guess that was one of those anonymous profiles.
So here's another guy who's not anonymous. He makes a good point. But again, a 30-second clip, and a lot of people, I don't know, they just misread the context possibly, but which is totally, but it's totally understandable. It's a 30-second clip. So what are you going to do? This guy says on the same clip, why make the rookie do it for 365? And then day 366, he doesn't have to just like everyone else. It's hypocrisy. You should lead by example, and your crew should be doing all of that, regardless of probationary firefighter being there or not.
I agree.
Dude, I understand where he's coming from.
Everybody's responsible for house duties. Everybody's responsible for meals and dishes.
It's two separate things, Doug.
But I want you to get your ass up and start it first.
A probationary fireman is different than a day 366er, right? Like that's just it's a different thing. That's two, like you're saying a probationary firefighter, we talked about it last episode, is like they should be up initiating everything. They should be up last. They should be studying their books. There's so many things that they have to learn in that year or throughout their entire career, but just to get started in the fire service.
And it doesn't have to be 365 and 366. It could be 3 months where we're like, all right, we're going to lighten up on this kid or whatever. And all right, we're going to start helping him with something. But for the first month, maybe 2, I expect you to want to do it all, to expect to do it all. I'm not going to let you do it all because it's our house. I live there too. I'm responsible for that stuff. And I don't expect you to do it all. I expect you to want to do it all.
Can I ask a dumb question?
There's
so
no
when I go,
Brian.
Well, but here's the thing. Like when I go into a firehouse and I eat last every time, right? I'll eat after the battalion chief. And then
you're not getting a call.
No, that's not the thing. Like they're like, hey, chief, you go first. And I'm like, no, I'm not going first. I'm going to go after everybody else eats. I'm a guest here, right? They're like, no, chief, you're the guest. Like, they're like, I said, no, I will eat last. That's an order. Like I've literally had to like make it an order. But then at the same time, like after dinner, a lot of times our folks will clean up or whatever. And I try to step in and clean and they like are ticked They're like, Chief, you are not to wash the dish. And I'm
Absolutely.
like, no,
you shouldn't.
But I am.
No.
I'm gonna wash my dish. I'm gonna help clean. I'm gonna do it. See, this is the debate right here.
To me, you've earned that respect.
No.
And I'm going to give you that respect. I expect you to get your plate last because your likelihood of getting a call is much less than mine, and leaders eat last, right? That's the thing. But I don't want you cleaning. No, you've earned that respect. My station captain, my lieutenant, my company officer, my entire career, I don't expect you guys to do house duties and all that shit. You've earned the right to not do that. To me. That's Doug's opinion.
Matt, what do you think?
I'm not letting you do dishes. I'm not letting you clean up after supper. No. Unless we all go out on a run, different scenario. That's cool, man. I don't expect you to do it, but I appreciate that you've done it.
I want to know what Matt thinks, and then I want to know what Unky thinks. I want to know both of y'all's.
In my department, doing dishes means in the suds. So we talked about this last episode.
Yep, that's why I brought it up.
If you cook, then you're not in the suds, right? Unless we play a game and you lose, because that's just the way it is. Yep. If you lose in nines, then you're in the suds. It doesn't matter if you cooked or not. But our culture and the way that I look at it, Brian, is I think you're doing the right thing. And I disagree with Doug. Just because you're wearing a black uniform, I don't think excuses you. I don't think it gives you a lot of respect that that's a whole nother podcast if I say that statement. Just because you're wearing black does not give you respect. All right, let's just be honest. Let's just be with that, right? We all know that, but we're not going to go down that fucking rabbit hole. Sorry, Rick. But I disagree with Doug because you can be doing something, right? You might not be in the suds. Like but like my chief
mopping something. I'm going to do something. But
again, like we're different, man. Like we're a really small, tight knit group with all. I see my chief. Do you see your chief every shift, Doug? Do you talk to him? No, you don't. I do. So we're really close. My chief came up for dinner and he got in the suds and he'll fight your ass. Like he'll throw you across the table. And if you want to fight, and I just like, whatever, like it's no big deal. Like we're all just sitting there. It could be different at different cultures. You know what I mean? But I agree with Brian in that without knowing anything and just a broad statement, I think it's Brian makes an attempt to go in the suds and the new guy goes, no, Chief, you're not in the suds. You maybe go wipe down the table or, you know what I mean? And then Brian respectfully does that, I think.
Yeah, I think let me give a little clarity. Anything. Okay.
Let me give a little clarity. Yeah. I expect you to offer. And like you said, Matt, hey, Chief, you know what? Just wipe the table. We got the rest. You know what I mean? Like something that's simple. Like if you want to really be, if you're that persistent about it, by all means, do the lightest job possible. But I expect you to offer because that's just respect to us. And my respect back to you is, hey, Chief, we got it, whatever.
One last question for you, Doug, then, before we get to Adam's thought is, Doug, if a chief sits down with you and breaks bread, and then he goes, all right, boys, got a lot of work to do in the office. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for your hard work. Who do I Venmo? And walks out the door without, offering any, what does that do for you? What does that do for you?
I don't know that anybody in my department would do that. Again, our leadership culture.
I know, but what if they did?
Yeah,
I think everybody would.
It wouldn't happen.
I don't think anybody would say anything, but like nobody in my department would do that. But I'm just saying that I'm sure there are chiefs. There's people listening right now, and they're like, "Oh yeah,
I've had
a chief like that."
I had them.
If that happened, you did. Okay, well then
I did.
Their credibility. If that actually happens, their credibility and my trust and respect in them. And hey, Chief, right, can we talk for a minute? It decreases.
I got Doug's. I got your understanding. I love it, and you're right. And with that, I agree. And I think it's what I believe in is like, hey, go over there. Everybody's getting up from the table, grab your stuff, start cleaning it. The guy comes over and pushes you out of the way and grabs your plate.
It's just like like when you're prepping. You're prepping dinner. Hey, what can I do to help? Nothing.
Exactly.
Cool. You offered. That's all I ask.
Exactly. Yeah. Adam, what do you got, dude? Oh, you've been quiet over there.
You're doing something. That's it. You're going to do something. And if you're the person that gets up and Venmos, guess what? We're going to find out what meal you hate having. We're having it every time that you're coming there. And you'll get the point that you need to start doing something. Something. You can be small. Take the bag of trash out. Wipe the table. You're doing something. Now, you're one of those Venmo guys, you're not going to like our meals anymore. Or you're just not going to be invited anymore. We're going to flat out tell you I love it. My department is rough about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, when you come in the station, we don't care what your rank is. I mean, I have interrupted countless conversations because our headquarters was like rotating doors and chiefs. We talked to my district chief. I'll be like, hey, who are you? And they'll say their name, like, what are you in charge of? And he's like, I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, I'll just walk out of the room. I'll interrupt them. And that's how my department is, especially the guys that have been around for a while. We don't care what your rank is. You know, you going to show it to us that what kind of person you are. I mean, we'll always usually quickly find out what kind of person they are.
That's a whole nother avenue.
Then they're no longer invited to the table.
That's a whole nother avenue we can go down about who can say what to who.
Oh, yeah.
What I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. Hey, good dude. That was awesome.
And that's why I'm at the station I'm at now.
This was fantastic. I love this episode. This was great.
Well, maybe we'll just keep on going down the list next episode. I don't know. We got to get a guest on here. We got a lot to do here at the Cool Fireman Podcast. One little call action item is if you're not following the podcast and you made it this far with us, please follow us on whatever platform you're listening to. We're on every single platform out there. And if we're not, let us know, but we should be.
We are not on Pornhub.
We're not?
Mm-mm.
No, we are. You just don't know.
Yeah. Me and Matt are.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's OnlyFans that we're on. We're on Doug'sFeetFinder.org.
Let me get my feet in there.
Yeah, that a boy. Make a march.
You fucking weirdo.
Show me that arch.
Oh my God. Okay, we know what Matt does in his spare time. Yeah, I know where the cookies came from now. Jesus.
I got to go to the bathroom, so we're going to get off the podcast here. Sorry, Rhett. Don't ask your dad what that means. All right. The Cool Fireman Podcast is officially off the rails, and we love you. We mean it. Patreon, $2 for the engineer. It's a lot of great behind-the-scenes stuff. There will be more behind the scenes this week. And, that's all I got.
Yeah, I'm putting up trusses tomorrow, so I may fall off the roof and hurt myself. I don't know.
Perfect. Put that stuff on there. There we go. Yeah. All right, folks. Who's going to roll us out?
Come see us at FDIC.
Yeah.
Roll it, Gigi.
Roll it, Gigi.
Before you leave, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give these firemen a huge thumbs up. Also, make sure you check out thecoolfireman.com for more. Thanks!